For the past few months, I've been hyped for Doom the Dark Ages, and to quench that hype, I have been preparing to beat the game on Nightmare on the day it releases. Now, how does one prepare to beat the game on Nightmare? Well, I went back and finally did Doom 2016 on Nightmare, and also Doom Eternal and all its DLCs on Nightmare. And I even gave some Ultra Nightmare runs a try, though those weren't very successful. And it was a grand old time, but now the wait was finally over, and Doom the Dark Ages was here. Well, early access at least, because you know I had to hop in early. Now before we hop in, normally when I do these style of videos, we're covering older games, so I don't worry too much about story spoilers, but obviously the Dark Ages is pretty much brand new, so this is a little bit of a warning. If you don't want spoilers, come back to my video after you've beaten the game. Now after playing the other modern Doom games on Nightmare, I was fully expecting this game to kick my ass. But I'm going to be fully honest here, on default Nightmare, the Dark Ages is probably too easy. Now obviously I know there's the sliders, and I do love the fact that it included those as a way for players to really customize their experience, but I kind of just wish that the default vanilla Nightmare difficulty was tuned a little bit higher. As right now, don't get me wrong, it does have its hard sections, but overall, I would say it's by far the easiest of the modern trilogy. But with that said, let our journey begin. The game dropped at 7 PM in my time zone, so you know that I was there on the dot. However, like all early access drops, things would not go smoothly, and for whatever reason, my game wouldn't start. So after uninstalling the game and then re-downloading it and reinstalling it, we were now ready to hop on in. The Dark Ages contains 22 chapters, all of which are self-contained levels. Some great, some good, and some, well, sort of mid. More on that later. We would load in and instantly get to test out the new gameplay mechanics a bit with the shield and combat shotgun, going through a basic tutorial that goes over all the changes, because Doom the Dark Ages is very much its own thing in regards to gameplay loop compared to 2016 or Eternal. It still very much feels like Doom at its core, and you still get that feeling of being a demon-slaying badass, but the focus on melee and parry mechanics is a big shift from the way that you would fight in prior games. They also nerfed quick swapping and made it way easier to get ammo, so unlike in Eternal where you had to constantly use different weapons, in the Dark Ages you can pretty much just pick your favorite one and use it for the entire game, outside of select scenarios where specific weapons counter enemies, like in the case of maybe a plasma weapon when they have a shield. This has its pros and cons in my opinion, but if you're someone who hated quick swapping or just running out of ammo in general, then you'll probably enjoy the change. I won't lie though, as I got further into the game, I kind of grew to miss quick swapping. Which is kind of crazy because if you asked me before I started the Dark Ages, I would tell you that quick swapping wasn't a mechanic that I really enjoyed. But I think as I got a little bit better at it, it was really satisfying to hit those good DPS rotations. Pretty early on, we would encounter the Imp Stalker and also learn about the game's executions, which are effectively the replacement for glory kills, just quicker in most cases, because besides some of the longer animations, most of the executions are a quick hit in this game. The first chapter also introduces the life sigils, which are just like the extra lives from Eternal, and you can scavenge these around the map as you wish. Now, despite the first chapter being very easy, I almost managed to die.
Did you just like cook those are the imps, right? You just cook them. Oh my god, he got me. Oh, I don't have any more melees. Ah! It's weird how I don't have the dash anymore and I just have this little baby like turd sprint.
Oh yeah, the Dark Ages also has sprint. Which, little tip, just turn on auto sprint. I'm not sure why you wouldn't, because it doesn't seem like sprint has any downsides. It just makes you move around a little quicker and jump a little further. I'd mostly spend the first chapter learning the basic mechanics a bit, slamming people with my shield and clearing the village. Truly feeling like that Doom slaying badass that we expected. Just giddy to be playing a new Doom. Something to keep an eye on as you move through the game is that you can use your shield charge to break specific walls, and in a lot of cases this allows you to find secrets. Now remember that sigil we picked up earlier?
Oh god, that was faster. I've died!
I'd burn it here to the Pinky Rider, but that doesn't count as a death thanks to our handy dandy sigil. After you kill the Pinky Rider, you then find these hell cultists doing some spooky stuff, shield slam them for good measure, and then find the blue key. The blue key opens the main gate, and we would learn that we need to clear out all the enemies around each of the 4 portals to destroy them, and instantly you sort of see what sets the Dark Ages apart from its predecessors. Gone are the more focused small arenas, and instead you're constantly fighting in these large battlefields full of demons, which really gave it that feel of having a grander scale where you're a part of this huge war against the demons. Killing them, like I mentioned, destroys the portals, and during our battles I'd also find these shield guys, whose shield turns red as you shoot it. This is important later on and introduces a fun interaction of mechanics. Something though very bad would happen as we attempted to close all the portals.
Oh no, I'm gonna die. Alright, we died. We died.
So very sad, our deathless run was no more. But let's be real, there was probably a negative percentage chance that I was completing Doom the Dark Ages on Nightmare on my very first time playing without dying at all. But it's always still sad to get your first death in a game. I then acquired the Shredder, which is the Dark Ages version of the heavy assault rifle / heavy cannon, and it functions pretty much exactly how you'd imagine, though it does have some fun upgrades later on like a lot of the other weapons. Here I'd also learn what they did to my baby quick swapping.
Okay, so now we can... Oh my god, the weapon swapping in this is so slow. Holy shit, chat, they nerfed quick swapping.
A bit further on, we would slam some more demons and imps into the ground, making sure to get some good parries in along the way, close the final portal, which then takes us back to defend the beach. I'd find a secret here which allowed me to grab another sigil, and honestly I'm probably not going to mention too many of these, but long story short, the game really rewards you for exploring the more open levels, but you can also just beeline it from engagement to engagement if you wish. Down at the beach I would mow down some more demons, and that would bring us to this turret. Oh my god, turret sections. Gave me some serious 360 flashbacks. Back when it seemed like every FPS or shooter in general had to have turret or vehicle sections to break up the normal gameplay. It's pretty whatever, I'm not gonna lie, but I'd mow down the Titan and other demons and boom, end of chapter, and then we would get some story cutscenes. Like I said, I'm not gonna spoil anything directly related to the story beats, but this cutscene is like 30 minutes into the game, so I don't feel too bad about letting it roll in the background. But I do have to say, holy crap, does Doom the Dark Ages have a story? Remember how Eternal had slightly more of a story than 2016? Yeah, the Dark Ages takes that times like 50. Tons of long cutscenes and story and exposition. Now don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but in full transparency, I played Doom to slay demons. So I mostly just played my way through the game, sort of confused as to what was happening in the story. After the cutscene, we would get the shield saw, allowing us now to throw our shield at demons as we see fit, and it also introduces the mechanic that I mentioned earlier, where if you throw it at a heated up shield, it blasts them into pieces and damages all the demons around them. The shield throw can also stun some of the bigger demons, which allows you to put in some good damage on them. Just like tradition though, the cute little Doom collectibles are back, and then we would encounter the Hell Knight, who you mostly just parry the shit off. And here's a little spoiler for you. That's how you deal with pretty much every enemy in the Dark Ages. See a green light? Hit parry. If you haven't realized it yet, the game really loves the parry mechanic and expects you to also love it, otherwise you're going to be in for a rough time. After this, we would reach our first Sentinel Shrine, which is where you can get your upgrades, and you can choose to upgrade your guns, shield, or your melee weapon of choice using a variety of currencies. Gold is the easiest currency to get and allows you to get the early upgrades for all of these. Blood shards lets you do kind of like the mid-tier upgrades, and then the rarest currency allow you to get those final upgrades. Just by playing normally though, by the end of the game, I had most of the upgrades that I cared about, so don't worry about having to really scavenge and search high and low for upgrade resources. But if you do want to max out everything, you will probably have to search around a bit. This level also introduces the Stone Imp, which we recently fought in the Ancient Gods, though this time you can just shield charge them and call it a day. By later in the game, either they stopped throwing these at us, or I just didn't notice anymore since I was shield charging all the smaller demons anyways. Then we went and got this secret, which I thought was pretty funny, though I'm not really sure what the point was other than to try and kill the player.
Oh. Why is there just a room that leads to these two people? Oh god, ow.
I'm actually kind of a big fan of stuff like that. It's just kind of fun, unless I just miss something altogether. A bit further on, we would encounter the Mancubus.
Oh shit, dude. Mancubus. Ow. Alright, Mancubus down, dude. Mancubus ain't got shit on me.
And after completing the rest of that fight, we would find the plasma rifle, or as I guess this game calls it, the plasma accelerator. It has a ton of recoil, some more fighting, secrets, and climbing the very obvious walls that we can scale, and we would walk back outside to get to this cutscene and go to town on some more of our hell-based friends. We would then learn of this mechanic that allows you to use the shield saw to jump over large gaps in very specific locations that it wants you to. Honestly, I feel like some of the shield movement stuff is a bit underused, though I have seen some clips on Twitter where you can hit nasty movement if you're good with the shield mechanics. Speedruns of this game are going to be pretty satisfying to watch, but I know you guys aren't here for speedruns. You're here to watch me suffer. I'd even unlock a weapon skin, which is just so epic, dude. I love skins. Nothing better than some skins. After some more fighting, I'd burn another life sigil, and then also meet the Nightmare Imp Stalkers, which are, Imp Stalkers, but now they're invisible, and these would actually kick my ass sometimes as they can catch you pretty off guard. We would then see a portal spawn in and this Pinky Rider would come out, though he was actually of the leader variant, which is basically just a stronger version of him that can also have some unique attacks. Killing the leaders also gives the Slayer a permanent upgrade to your health, armor, or ammo, which is how you buff up the Slayer.
Okay, maybe he's not a boss fight, maybe he's just like an elite enemy or something. Seemed a little bit too easy for a boss fight. In retrospect, charging the beast, probably not the play. Okay. Oh, there we go. We got more health now, dude. Ah, they're leaders. Okay.
Killing him also pans the camera to this giant mech, and I think you can guess what's coming up next. 2 chapters down, 20 to go. If you guessed correctly, you would know that the next mission is a mech mission, or as I like to call it, Doomfall.
Epic. Invigorating gameplay, chat. Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, these levels are pretty mid. The mechanics are really shallow and you basically just spam mouse 1 and occasionally dodge or hit mouse 2 for one of the finishers. I think if this was purely just like one short section in the game, I'd be like, alright, that was a pretty cool change of pace, but spoiler, it comes back later on. This, the turrets, and a future level type really gave off those 360 FPS vibes. Well anyways, after mindlessly clicking for a bit and then mowing down some demons with the mech turret, we would move on to the next chapter, which I'm a little bit bummed by, as this is the only time that you get kind of a chain gun style weapon in the Dark Ages, and I absolutely love that gun in 2016 in Eternal. The next chapter would luckily have us back on our feet, and we would need to clear the barracks, including the introduction of the mission challenges, which you can do to get more gold, or just completionist type stuff. I usually only completed the ones that were a bit more natural to complete during gameplay, and then we would get the first Skull Crusher gun, which in terms of aesthetics is probably my favorite gun.
Look at that. You can actually see the skulls getting crushed. Yo, that's actually cool. That is actually... Oh, what the... Why are there people in here? Oh, I see. I was supposed to use the Skull Crusher pulverizer on them. Dude, this thing goes ham.
In practice, it functions like a close-range SMG type weapon to mow down a lot of enemies that are near to you. I'd even have a very close call a bit further into the level.
Oh, the door's closed. We were trapped in the corner, chat. I'm parrying for my life out here. Oh, wait, hold on. Yo, we might be cooking. Yo, how did I live? That's crazy. The parry is goated, dude.
This is where I think the parry mechanic shows its weakness the most. In any other Doom game, I'm absolutely dead in that situation. But here I just spam parried my way out, which, don't get me wrong, was kind of fun and hype at the time, but I think that plays a huge role into why this game feels so much easier. This level would also give us the Railgun Impaler, introducing the weapon class swap. Basically, each gun has 2 different versions that you can swap between that are similar but fulfill slightly different roles. Well, usually. I'm pretty sure the 2 plasma guns do almost the same thing. In the case of the Impaler though, it's kind of the precision weapon of the Railgun, and it kind of reminded me a lot of a crappier precision bolt from Eternal. Probably because without quick swapping, you weren't able to fill in those DPS gaps. Overall a decent weapon, but not one that I used a ton. This level would then continue pretty much as normal, until...
No, chat! This is devastating, dude. We've died for the 2nd time.
It's still crazy to me going back through this footage that I was nearly 2 hours in and only died twice, and it sure as heck wasn't because I'm good. The 2nd time was a charm though.
Alright, is that the end of the fight? Oh yeah, dude, more armor.
A bit further into the level you would meet the Vagary Champion, which is the first of the game's bosses, though it's more of a mini boss fight since the Vagary becomes a regular enemy later on.
That was extremely easy.
and we killed it on the first try. This would close out the first chapter, and we would head to the holy city of Arrrash. And alright guys, permission to be just like a little bit nitpicky here. I hate this chapter screen. It instantly kills my immersion and makes me feel like I'm playing a video game. Now I know, I am playing a video game, but when I played through Doom 2016 and Eternal, the levels just kind of flowed together. Sure, you had loading screens that did make it obvious when a new weapon was starting, but this chapter select screen really just pulls me out. It makes me feel like I'm playing some type of arcade mode where I'm just picking levels. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that was like mega nitpicky. Just to be clear, I did really enjoy the Dark Ages. There's just little bits and pieces here and there that kind of underwhelmed me. This awesome trip to Arrrash sucked. It's the first of the dragon missions, which are somehow even more mundane than the mech sections. You basically just fly around and use this lock-on mechanic where, shocker, you dodge a projectile, and then for some reason that buffs your dragon's gun and allows you to kill the thing that you're locked onto. Just saying it, maybe it isn't too late. We could delete the mechs, dragons, and even those turret sections, and maybe go back and add like a cool multiplayer mode. I wouldn't complain. Now in this chapter, you do sometimes jump off your dragon to go deal with some objectives on the ground, like destroying some of the Hell Carriers. Something sad though did happen on this level. I'm getting fucked up, chat. I might die here. TBH, not gonna lie. There we go. Ah, they got me. Oh my god! Okay, we're actually getting cooked now. We're finally getting cooked a little bit. Pure devastation. We would get to take on the Cyber Demon though face to face. Holy sh! What the do we got here? Oh, why was that so? I was expecting that to be so much harder to kill. I think it was actually kind of easy. This chapter also gives us the other version of the plasma weapon, the Plasma Cycler, which is by far my preferred of the two versions, but like I said earlier, they're kind of similar. The Cycler is a little bit more accurate and has some more range, but they really don't feel too much different. The chapter then goes on to introduce the Enforcers, which are basically buffed up dudes that if you don't deal with can bring in reinforcements. And after this, you get basically the only gun that you're going to need for the rest of the game, the Super Shotgun. Super Shotgun plus shield plus parry pretty much defeats 95% of the encounters in this game, especially once you get rolling in some upgrades. This is what I meant when I mentioned earlier, unlike Eternal, the Dark Ages doesn't really require any sort of weapon swapping. I then accidentally do something good. Oh, I did not mean to fall out that window. Oh, it actually literally did that on accident, and it was actually beneficial. That is funny. I'd Super Shotgun some more noobs, get back onto my dragon, and fly to the Heart Chamber, which would sadly give us our 5th death to one of the vagaries. And then after this fight, we would get a cutscene to end out the level. This would bring us to Siege Part 1, and after learning that we can use our shield to open doors, we would get ourselves a new melee weapon in the flail. Huge fan of this one, and it was basically my melee weapon of choice for the rest of the game. From here we would need to defend the city, and to do that we would need to destroy the 5 gore portals, to which I'd almost immediately fail. Oh my, this section runs like ass on my computer. Alright, maybe I should have upgraded my, updated my, my shit, chat. I'm not gonna be able to get him. Ow. Oh, I died. To kill the gore portals, we would need to basically just eliminate all the demons around them, and then they'd go pop. This level brings back some familiar foes in the Arachnicon and Tentacle, along with introducing tanks. Yes, Doomslayer now gets to dominate tanks, as he should. Mere tanks stand no chance against him. Now this level would also be the first time that I'd argue the game challenges the player, like at all, which is crazy as we were over 3 hours in. This is where we would encounter the first morale encounter, which would become a very familiar mechanic throughout the rest of the game. These encounters basically have a leader that you're unable to damage until you kill enough demons in the area to lower the morale bar, and then you can attack them and kill them, which if you do completes the encounter and gives you a buff like usual for killing the leader. Now compared to literally every other encounter prior to this one, it went ham. Dude, why is the fucking morale bar still so big? No! Now just on our second try, I'd actually get through the morale bar. That's tilting.
Oh no, I jumped over the... Oh, fuck. No! Damn it. Alright, this is definitely the hardest room so far. Which is good. I'm glad we finally found some difficulty. I'm probably like playing it bad or something though. Though I'd spend many deaths after this getting back to the same point, with many of our deaths coming to the Cyber Demon. Bro, this thing is just dominating me. This tooltip though would come in clutch, as while it doesn't make the Cyber Demons easy per se, getting up close and personal does make them a lot more manageable. You just have to make sure you hit your parry. Alright, we got him. Okay, I see how to do it now. You just gotta get up close and personal and just tank him. I'd still end up dying a good bit though on that final stretch. No! Oh, that was the farthest we got until eventually. Yes, baby, let's go! Whew. That was definitely the hardest fight so far in the game, which is crazy. Now, in the grand scheme of Doom, this encounter is nothing. But for a game that up to this point had been pretty easy, it definitely kicked my ass. And I'd venture to guess that that's an experience that a lot of you probably also had, or will have once you play Doom the Dark Ages. A bit further into the level, we would encounter another new weapon, the Chain Shot, which for whatever reason, all I could think of was this. I came in like a wrecking ball. You're welcome. Now you too can cook your brain while playing Doom. Honestly, this is probably one of the weaker guns, but it is fun, and after a couple random deaths, I'd get to the next morale encounter, which would again give us some troubles. No! Damn it! Damn it! No! Gosh, diggity darn it. Let's go, baby! Alright. Now we've got more armor. Alright. That was weirdly a struggle, I'm not gonna lie. Another 10 deaths there, pushing us up to 30 in total, and then the rest of the level would be pretty basic, moving us to Siege Part 2. Siege Part 2 opens up with a handy dandy turret section to really get that blood flowing, and then a good bit into the level we would meet the Dark Ages version of the Revenant, which I'm going to say something dumb. During my stream, I did not realize that these were the Dark Ages version of the Revenant for a good bit of time. I just thought they were a random new flying enemy. This chapter is another pretty straightforward one, and we would show up to save our buddy from the evil man in the game, whose name I actually had to look up when I was writing the script. Alrighty, next chapter, into the Abyssal Forest we go, where we need to get the Forest Gate open. Now this level brings the Whiplash back, which was able to best me. Now you might be wondering, how does one kill a Whiplash in the Dark Ages? Well, pretty much the same as all the other enemies. You just parry its attacks when the lights turn green, and then use your super shotgun. I would end up dying early on in this level a fair bit of times, but I'm just going to chalk that up to me being 6 hours into the game and it being like 1 AM. Eventually though, we would reach the mine entrance and take an elevator down, unlocking the grenade launcher, which I'm going to admit I barely used at all. And I don't know why, but I'm pretty much always ass with nade launchers in video games. Except this one, can't go wrong with the classic noob tube. In the mine though, we would encounter the Agadon champion, and our first attempt went about as well as you'd imagine. I can safely say at this point I was so tired I wasn't even reacting to my deaths, just dying and loading it back up for another go. After about 10 deaths though, let's go, baby. Let's go, baby. The chapter would end soon after that, and I'd call it quits for the night, going to take a little cat nap. And after a nice little 4-hour or so nap, I was back and ready to tackle Chapter 9, with us now a little over a third of the way through the game. Here we would be diving into the Ancestral Forge, and this is how the morning started. did not mean to jump at him. Ah! Oh my god, dude, this guy's going ham on me. Yes, we got him.
Whew. This level was mostly just me fumbling around, figuring out where to go, though we would start occasionally fighting those Agadon hunters as regular elite enemies. They weren't really too bad though.
There we go. Easy peasy.
And from there we would unlock these shield runes, with our first ability being Ground Fissure. These basically just allow you to have an extra effect on your shield. Directly after the shield rune would be another one of the big morale fights, which I may or may not have misplayed on. I would never die on the Dark Ages though. I said it's easy. Ah! Once I finally broke the morale bar though, the leader wouldn't cause us any issues.
Yes! Take that, leader.
This finishes the chapter, and from there we were headed to the Forsaken Plains. Here we would unlock the rocket launcher, which from what I've seen on Twitter has some pretty decent tech, but all I usually manage to do with the rocket launcher in Doom is hit myself with the splash damage, so I didn't use it a ton. This level would also have another morale fight for us to tackle, and after dying a few times...
Bro, I feel like I'm just comparing everything. I think we got it. Alright, maximum health increase, dude.
I felt like by this point in the game, I was really starting to get a hang of not only this style of encounter, but also just the parry mechanic in general. Parry plus shield plus super shotgun is the combo. I then destroy one of the hell cannons and then head over to the second. This would have us do another morale encounter, and then we would destroy the turret which opened this mouth thing for us to go through, and then we would head in and pick up a power core. After obtaining the core, we had about one more main combat arena, and that would do it for the chapter. The next mission would have us do some more mech combat, this time getting this giant mech shotgun for a bit, then hopping out of the mech to complete the level. On the bright side, killing these leaders was getting us pretty nice and beefy. That would do it for the chapter, and we would hop over to the Sentinel command station, which is a lot more of the same, but I would unlock the Skullcrusher Ravager, being the more long-range version of the two Skullcrushers. Kinda similar to the Plasma class though, these two are also pretty similar. Now I would die a good bit here in this chapter, but there wasn't anything too crazy, and we would unlock the hangar and then hop into the next chapter where we need to do another dragon level that is pretty similar to the first. We would get some excitement though on this chapter, as I believe it's the first time that we encountered the Cacodemons. Not gonna lie though, took me a while to realize these were the Dark Ages versions of the Cacodemon, which you might be a little confused by, but I didn't pay that much attention to all the pre-release material they put out, so I know they already showed what all these demons looked like, but I kind of tried to go in as blind as possible. And that was pretty much the end of the chapter, and by this point we were just cruising through them up to chapter 14 now. And here we would meet the Kamado champion, and this dude is deadly.
I need help. Ow. I think we're gonna take an L here, chat. Yep.
Now to defeat this guy, the main strategy I'd use was just to chain bury his abilities and put in damage when I could, though I won't lie, he was messing me up a bit.
Poop.
When in doubt though, trust the handy dandy super shotgun. Whee!
Alright boys, I think we figured out the key to greatness. When in doubt, super shotgun it out. Okay, there we go. I thought I clicked it.
I'd hop back onto our dragon for a bit and just go around deactivating the stasis emitters. And oh yeah, when you're on your dragon, you get to fight really big Cacodemons. And it always feels nice to dominate one of the big morale encounters on your first try. After eliminating the third stasis emitters, we would go and gather the BFC. It's medieval times, so our BFG would need to be a BFC, or a crossbow. And it works pretty similar, though without the giant orb in the air. And as you can imagine, like usual, once picking up the BFC, the game would reward us with a little target practice to test it out.
Oh my, they really want you to test it out. Dude, imagine trying to kill this. Oh, I whiffed. Ah! Okay, we lived.
After a little bit more fighting, we would eventually get to the skull button and close out the chapter. Hitting this has some giant demon break free and start flying towards a portal in the sky, and like all good Doom Slayers, we would hop on for a ride, bringing us to the next chapter, City of Rule. This opens with a nice relaxing swim before hitting this button, raising our platform into the air and summoning a portal that was locked. This chapter has these little gates that you can shield charge through. They give a giant boost, and I'll be honest, I kind of wish they had done more with this because it was just kind of a cool mechanic for traversal. Maybe they could have explored stuff like this more instead of the dragon sections and mechs to break up the combat section. Though I do understand, some people kind of like those sections. So if you were an enjoyer of the dragon and the mech, don't let me take that away from you. I just didn't think they were that cool. Anyways, this chapter introduces the Cosmic Baron, which I'd kill the first one that I met. To progress through this level, you basically have to line up these gates with the locked portion and then you toss your shield through them. Kind of a cool use of the shield throw mechanic that I like, even if it's really obvious. This chapter also introduces the Acolyte as another elite demon to enter the arsenal of things that they can throw at you. Not much further on, we would acquire the Dread Mace, which is the game's slower, more powerful melee weapon. So if you kind of like that style of weapon in other melee games, then the mace might be for you. Outside of using it right when I unlocked it though, I just went back to the flail. And then I just go around throwing my shield through some holes, swimming through these interesting tunnel areas, and killing a lot of demons, including some spiders for all my arachnophobes out there. Which made me randomly think about all those games that have started adding like an arachnophobia mode, which I'm always a fan of stuff like that, even if it's an option that I never turn on. I do hate spiders though, absolutely hate them. Sadly though, this level would also lead to our 100th death. That's the 100th. In my next life though, I'd grab its little heart out and buff our Doom Slayer some more, eventually opening that main gate, clearing out the enemies, and then hopping into it, closing out the chapter. Next up, the Carthel Marshes, and by now my Doom Slayer was a demon slaying beast. Our stats were cruising their way toward max, and most of the weapons that I was using, the Super Shotgun, and a couple others, were pretty much fully upgraded, giving us some good tools at my disposal for all the demons. The next chapter would have us in search of 2 relic fragments. I did manage to die to the tentacles twice on this chapter, so not my best performance. Besides that though, it was pretty bog standard, and we were getting to the point that these standard leader fights weren't really posing any issues. After getting the 2 relic fragments, we would put them together to form the relic key, and then by using these creepy tentacle things to open the portal and hop in. Chapter 17, here I come. Actually, can I be honest? For our purposes, Chapter 17 is pretty much more of the same and just serves as more fun combat areas while we flesh out the story of the Dark Ages that I still don't really understand or honestly care that much about. And spoiler alert, which I guess this whole video has been a giant spoiler up to this point, so if you've made it this far, I doubt you care. But we would now enter the mouth of that giant demon that we rode earlier, meaning this next mission would have us fighting inside of it, the old one. This level gave me some serious Gears 2 nostalgia if you played that one back in the day, where we went inside the giant worm for a level. Working our way through this level would just have us embracing our inner Slayer, and after shooting the BFC at his organs, we would knock him down, allowing us to then shield slam our way out of the old one and work our way towards the temple. Here some major story spoilery stuff happens, and now we're zombie Doom Slayer, and we would need to return to the mortal plane by ripping, tearing, parrying is always very important, and smashing our way through the copious amount of demon friends that were in our way. Sadly though, even this far into the game, all these combat arenas were pretty easy to beat, even on Nightmare. This guy would then ask us for payment to go across the fancy bridge, and the Doom Slayer would deal with this exactly how I would expect him to. Why hello there.
Payment required.
Perfect. And we'd then kill a bunch of demons on this barge before getting to the helm of the ship and steering it back to life. Honestly, I was sort of just lost at this point, but I'm sure it made sense to some of you guys that paid attention to the story. I was just there to shoot the demons. The next chapter would be our resurrection, and after coming back to life with this ritual, we would need to destroy the 3 siege towers, which just means go around killing some more demons and then watching the tower blow up. Once defeating the 3rd tower, we were able to hop back on Mr. Dragon and ride him up to the Creed ship, which we would then board after killing some of the turrets on it. And hey, the little pinata enemies are back. I don't think they pop though, like they did in Eternal. At least they didn't when I shot at them, but maybe I wasn't doing it right. I don't know. This would then get us to the Creed Maker, who was the job of the Hut ass dude, and it was time for a boss fight. The first totally unique boss fight in the game. Oh. Now you might be asking yourself, how does one kill the Creed Maker? Well, avoid his balls and the giant moving orb that does damage, and occasionally parry back his projectiles. There's also this move where he gains a shield and throws these ground projectiles at you, and after doing a good bit of damage he gains 2 more rings on his head and these giant balls that he throws at you, but it's not really that hard.
How did I not return that one? Did we beat him? What a shitty boss.
Now this first phase, extremely easy, but he would take off his robe, exposing his extremely creepy looking body, and now it was time for phase 2. In this, his attacks are pretty similar to the first, but he also gains these walls that he puts up, just giving you less room to move around, and he also just throws out more attacks in general, including these meteor style balls that he shoots out.
I'm gonna die.
You pass now into the next world.
Ah, poop. What? This is not good. No, we were so close.
Honestly though, even this phase, pretty damn easy for one of the few main bosses in the game.
Oh shit, hold on. Maybe we just beat it. Let's go, baby. I don't even have that mace.
Doomslayer then jams his shield into his chest, leaving him a sad lifeless corpse on the ground, though his extra blubber did try to resist our shield saw. Now only 2 levels remain, and if you've been wishing for another mech level, well then this game has a treat in store for you. This mech section even has a mech boss fight, with us having to finally fight the old one, and while this does have a couple more mechanics than the regular mech fights, just due to the boss having some different attacks, it's mostly still just spamming mouse 1, mouse 2 occasionally for our special attack, and then parrying the old one's attacks. And on just our second try, aha! Boop.
Wait, why did it teleport us to like the other side of the arena? Alright, here we go. I think we won. Wow. That was invigorating.
That boss fight then leads directly into our first boss fight with Arrrash, who really tests your chain parrying skills.
Oh, we died.
As you do enough damage between points, you get to try and land a big blow on Arrrash, but he pretty much just little brothers you each time, and I will admit, compared to the last 2 bosses, he did get the better of me for a bit.
Ah, the third one got me, bruh. I definitely think the staying away strat works a little better on this guy than being up close and personal. No, we were doing so good.
Eventually though,
oh, there's no way he doesn't have another phase.
and as anticipated, Arrrash would have another phase, by now transforming into a giant winged demon. This next phase would not only give him more mobility, it also spawned these weird spike looking things.
Well. No! Oh.
Really though, it still just all comes down to the parry. Hit your chain parries and do damage when you can, and after just 10 deaths,
he's like blocking the health that I want to grab. Did we get it? Oh, he's probably got another phase, I'm guessing. Oh, owie.
Arrrash then stabs the shit out of us before our dragon would show up and try to help, unfortunately getting dominated, which made me very sad. I may not have loved the gameplay of the dragon, but having one of our main companions die is always a bad time. Poor little dragon, wish we could have saved him. Maybe we'll bring him back as a zombie dragon. Doomslayer then stands back up more pissed off, giving us one last phase. In this one, you now have to parry these red bodies that fly at you, a floor attack similar to the prior boss, and a lot more parrying. I must also say, this boss fight felt pretty final to me at the time. Now in this phase though, when you do go into your damaging blows, you can tell that the Doomslayer is starting to get his licks in, and on just our first attempt of the final phase,
What was your go-to weapon for this? Did we do it? Oh, baby, let's go!
Some more story stuff goes down, and then we would enter the final mission, chasing Arrrash into Hell. This final level in Hell, as you can imagine, includes a ton of combat encounters, where it throws basically everything they have at you, including the return of the Vagary champion, who wasn't too much of a threat to us.
This guy has got a fucking health bar. Yay!
This then takes us to the final fight, where you fight both Arrrash and the Witch. Arrrash is pretty similar to the first time that we fought him, and the Witch is more of a ranged enemy who throws orbs at you, and we would need to just attack whichever of the two didn't have a shield at the time.
No! Oh, there she goes. Okay, just him now?
I command the Horde. Kill me, and this war will never end.
Alright. Last phase, maybe. There we go. Victory? Victory Royale? Nice. Honestly, the boss fights in this are not nearly as difficult as Eternal or 2016. 2016's weren't that bad. I don't know.
So yeah, that's Doom the Dark Ages on Nightmare, which I beat just in one stream right after the launch. The stream took about 24 hours, but in terms of actual gameplay, it was probably only like 16, because I did sleep for a bit and then I had some IRL stuff that I had to tend to. I think you could probably extend your playthrough a little bit past 16 hours if you spend a bit more time picking up collectibles or just exploring. There were portions of the game where I was kind of just going through it. Overall, I would say Doom the Dark Ages is a very fun game, though I do wish it was a little bit harder. I know we have the sliders, but I feel like a curated Nightmare difficulty from id would have been much preferred for me, rather than having to go in and mess with the difficulty sliders myself. Maybe I'll go in and try out that Pandemonium mode, which definitely seems like it would add some difficulty. So I guess let me know if you want to see some streams of that. Now I know Doom the Dark Ages has got some criticism, and I'll just say, while it isn't my favorite of the modern Doom games, I thought it was very cool that it basically managed to make 3 games in a trilogy, all with very different playstyles. 2016 is still easily my favorite of the 3, but all are great games in their own way, and I can't wait to see what id does with the DLC. But until then, I guess that wraps us up for here today. I want to give a big shout out to all the channel members. If you want to support the channel, that's easily one of the best ways to do it. And then also just watch out for streams. Usually whenever we're doing one of these runs, we stream it on YouTube and Twitch, so check it out. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time.